Welcome to the Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. And this morning we are going to talk about reflexology. But first, let's do a few introductions. So, David, do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'm Dave Flannery. I'm with I'm with Affordable Websites for Small Businesses, where I make websites for small businesses, local and nationwide, and throughout the world. And the YouTube is working, and we are streaming through the website. Fine. With that, I'll turn it back over. Oh, and Javita says hello, everyone. Good day to you all. She
Good
just popped in.
morning, Javita. Our friend Javita is watching in YouTube from Mumbai, India. So let's see. I Fred, I think you were next.
All right, thanks, LowellAnn. I'm going to just shut my camera off while I talk because where I am, for some reason, it seems to have low internet. So I'm Fred Jones, the creator of Our Future Leaders, where we help young people gain communication and leadership skills so they can become the leaders that this rapidly changing world needs. And if anybody knows someone who wants to start up a group of youth online, please contact me. I'd be happy to help them do so. And I'm currently in Langford, which is near Victoria. It's in between where Marlene, our guest, is, and where LowellAnn, our host, is. And it's minus 2 degrees. We've got a bit of a cold snap here. Back to you, LowellAnn.
Yeah, right on. Welcome here, Fred. And Dave, I think you forgot to say where you are, so I'll say it. He's in Illinois, Rock Falls, Illinois. And Vivek, how about you?
Namaste. My name is Vivekanand. Literally, it means wisdom and happiness. I am proud to share my belief with Steve Jobs and Leonardo da Vinci, who said simplicity is the ultimate in sophistication. I bring together technologies to make things simple and easy for you. And waketechnology.com is my website. I develop software wherever the situation needs.
And you have developed a bunch for me. And should we say something about our project that the three of us are working on?
Yeah. Myself, LowellAnn, and Dave Flannery are working on WordPress for beginners, a course, online course.
So it's a wonderful thing, when we can work together with people from great distances and accomplish things. Yeah. There's a website for courses. Vivek and I have already created a couple of courses that are on that website. So,
I am in Reading, England, United Kingdom. The weather has been it has been cold. It has been sunny though. It's been sunny since morning, but it is cold. So
and you notice he says since morning. It is morning where I am.
yeah, for me it is 5 o'clock in the evening. So.
Yeah, right. Oh dear. So I just might finish off by saying that as you can see, my website is LowellAnn.com. I like to help solopreneurs with their online presence, whatever that might look like. And currently I'm working on a new project just having put the structure together for a new website called Arctic Carvings, where I will be posting pictures and ready to sell 3 big boxfuls of Arctic carvings that my husband collected while being part of the law party that traveled around the Arctic. So that's going to be a fun exercise, and I'm talking a lot because I was hoping that Alana would pop in, but maybe she's had something pop up for her. So welcome here, Marlene.
Thank you, LowellAnn.
And we might just say that Marlene is working from a little town. How far is it from Victoria to Sooke?
About 35K.
Yeah, right. I was just out to Sooke last weekend. Was it? We walked the Whiffenspit.
It's lovely there.
Yeah. So, Marlene was recommended to us by Fred because I had asked everybody to think of people that would be nice to interview, and so Fred recommended that we interview Marlene, and she agreed. So the first question, I think I know the answer, but I was thinking that others may not know the answer. And so, and by the way, Marlene is a reflexologist. So that first question is, what is reflexology and what is it used for?
First of all, I'm a registered Canadian reflexology therapist, RCRT. So that is above a certified reflexologist. Or a self-taught reflexologist. Yeah, it's the Canadian standard.
Mm-hmm.
So reflexology is based on the theory of reflexes in the hands, the feet, and the ears, which correspond to all parts of the body. Through application of pressure on specific points, we help to balance body energy, improve circulation, and induce a deep relaxation. That's the sort of base overview of it. It's very similar to acupressure in the theories, but the points are in slightly different places. Mm-hmm. People come obviously for relaxation when they're dealing with a lot of stress in their life. So it helps to bring that stress level down in the body. And it's individual exactly what you get from it. So what I tell people the first time they come, to pay attention over the next 24 hours. Most people will notice how mellow and laid back they are from the moment they leave the session. And they will generally sleep better the night of the session, and they will actually generally do a more thorough elimination in the 24 hours afterwards. So almost everybody notices those things. And from there, it's individual. Often there's a reduction in pain. Mm-hmm. Many people actually start trying reflexology because they have sore feet. And that's what catches their attention. Very helpful with that sore feet problem, especially people that are on their feet all day long. It also helps with digestion. There's approaches of specific combinations that can be used for helping with birthing, with cancer treatments, dealing with the effects of chemo on the body.
Really?
There's a wide range, and it really is important to find a connection with a practitioner that you feel that you trust. Nice thing about reflexology too is, unlike say massage, where you don't have to get dressed, and I am as far away as I can when I'm working on the feet while still giving a very caring and effective touch.
Aha. And I have to say that I have personally experienced reflexology years ago for back pain. And it certainly did work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. sort of almost miracle situation for some people, but not for everybody. A lot of other factors come into play, but it's very, very supportive and helpful.
Well, and the connection that made sense to me is those pressure points are the same ones that acupuncturists use. Are
They're
they
all
not?
similar, but they're not exactly the same.
Oh, I
The,
see.
the theory behind it is very, very similar.
Yeah. Right on. Wow. So where was this developed or discovered, or what? Can you say anything about the history of it?
The earliest depictions of reflexology are in the physicians' tombs in Egypt. It is believed that it came out of Ethiopia, where the actual medical or health practitioners for the Egyptians often were Ethiopian. It isn't really known whether it's a branch off from other Chinese medicines or whether it's something that evolved independently. But that's the earliest depictions of it.
Really? Isn't that interesting? Yeah. I would never have guessed that one. So let's stop for a minute, and I just want to introduce you to Alana, who is down in the left-hand corner. Good morning, Alana. Welcome here.
Thank you.
So, I'm wondering what I mean. You made a distinction between a reflexology therapist and a self-taught. Can you say a little bit more about what you needed to do to become a registered therapist, etc.?
Sure. I think David had a question. It looked like he had his hand up.
More of a comment. Vita saying, me too, LowellAnn. Reflexology is very useful.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so the training is evolving and has evolved. I've been doing this for 27 years, 26 years, something like that. So when I took the course, it was 3 or 4 weekends. Then you had to do 75 case studies, each one having to be done a certain number of times. Then you went back and you did another couple of weekends of training as well to become a certified reflexologist. That was, like I said, 26, 27 years ago. The course is more extensive now, and there's a lot more theory. There's a lot more looking at the ethics and different factors involved in it. And I'm not really sure how long the course takes because I haven't really looked into it, but I know it is much more extensive than when I took the course. And then from there, there's still a lot that you learn as you go, as you start working on it. And when I took it, they taught nothing in the way of business courses at all. You just got your certification and then you're on your own. Now they are starting to develop, bringing in other people to teach about different types of business aspects of marketing and promotion, which is important because they left us, not to say it negatively, but we were left floundering initially, but now they're evolving quite extensively. And it is, the Reflexology Association of Canada is a very large organization across Canada, and reflexology is pretty well worldwide as well.
Right on. Wow. And I guess the other another question that might be on everybody's mind is reflexology recognized by the medical profession?
In some cases. So the association is actually promoting the reflexology and getting it covered under more insurance companies. It is not covered, say, by BC Med. Like certain people can get, 10 partial sessions of massage or physio, but not reflexology. And it depends on the individual policy that a person has with their company. So Blue Cross, some policies cover. Blue Cross is actually one of the lowest ones for covering, but Green Shield There's several that do have, but each individual has to look at their own policy and then apply to their company and to their provider to add reflexology. But it's coming more and more for that.
And so would, let's say, a family doctor make referrals to you as a reflexologist?
They're not basically allowed to.
Oh, they're not.
No, because we're not covered, because we're not recognized under the appropriate guidelines that they have.
Oh.
So and some of them don't even still refer to chiropractors. So it's not, that bad. However, I have had a couple suggest that somebody might want to look into it. They can't give an actual referral or prescription to it, but I have had a few and a couple come.
Right on. Yeah. That was what I remember when I had when I did the reflexology. It's quite a few years ago now, but at the time, my family doctor had nothing to say about it, nothing whatsoever. So yeah.
I've had ones where a person was coming, and they would go back and tell their doctor, and finally the doctor just said, you know what, if it's working,
go for it. Yeah, right. Yeah. Yes, I think a lot of medical people would say that now, I think. Yes.
There's a lot more openness to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there was a time when it was such a closed thing, but now I think the medical profession is now recognizing, what do they call it, complementary therapies and so forth. Yeah. Yeah. So Vivek, I see you have your hand raised.
You were talking about whether it's available in hospital system within Canada. I just did a look up here, and reflexology is one of the things that are available under NHS.
Oh.
Yes. In the UK, in Europe and the UK, it's much more recognized, and it is actually included within their medical system as treatments. Here, we're not even allowed to use the word treatment per se, and they are not patients, they are clients. But in the UK, definitely our association is working towards seeing if there's other standards that need to be met, or what else is required to have it more broadly recognized through medical systems and insurance corporations, for sure.
Interesting. Wow. Well, so that gives us a bit of a picture of the reflexology as a field. Now, I was kind of curious to know, what was it about reflexology that attracted you?
Try to make that a short one. I was actually interested in being a massage therapist when I graduated from high school, but they were still called masseuse at that time.
Oh, yes.
With the connotations that went with that. I was encouraged to go on to a different field, always wanting to be in a caring, hands-on type field. And my husband and I traveled extensively, and I was taking some anti-malaria medicine, which affected my kidneys.
Oh.
And we had paid to go to an event that night. So I went, and all night I was just like drinking water and uncomfortable. And at the end of it, the couple that owned the Palapa bar in the middle of nowhere said, my wife and I are self-taught in reflexology. Can I try something for you? You're definitely uncomfortable. So I'd heard of it, and I said, okay. So he actually put 2 bar tables together and had me lay on them while he worked on my feet. And my husband and children had headed back to our boat. And Ron came back looking for me. And here I am laying on this table with a guy playing with my feet. He found some very tender spots, and we were moving on. So he said, just keep working on those till they don't hurt anymore. And by the time I sat up, I was much, much more comfortable. So by the time we returned to Canada and English libraries, I started reading about it. Ended up babysitting a 6-month-old colicky baby. So I started playing with her feet, and she just went like that. Because
Wow.
colicky babies are like this,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
she just relaxed.
Wow.
And so when we returned here to the Greater Victoria area, I started researching it more and then found a course. And I've been doing that for 26, 27 years.
Wow. Wow. What an interesting beginning. I think that's awesome. So so when did you go into business?
As soon as I got my certificate, I was actually able to find a shared office space.
Oh, and were you living in Sooke at the time, or did you choose Sooke as a good place to
I've
go into
called,
business?
well, yeah, I've called Sooke my home for a long, long time, shall I say. And even when
Okay.
we were traveling, that's where my husband's family was. Mine was in Metchosin. I actually went to the last 2 years of high school in Sooke, even though I didn't live out here. So we
Uh-huh.
returned home is what we did, yeah.
Ah,
And initially I was still living on a sailboat.
where are
So
you?
practiced from there to start, got the office, then moved on shore and mhm.
Wow.
Well, and I was homeschooling my kids from our travels, and the
Ah,
reflexology gave me the opportunity
of
to
course.
start slow and build, but still supplement the family income and work around my kids' schedule as well.
Homeschooler too. Oh. So that might explain part of your Fred knowing you, because he works with a lot of homeschoolers, don't you, Fred? Yeah.
We're in Toastmasters together as well.
Yeah. Right
Fred and
on.
I are founding members of the Sooke Harbor Toastmasters Club.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Oh, okay. So you went into the business right away, and you said that you started off on the boat and then moved to the land in an office or something. Did you work alone all the way through, or did you ever have a partner, or within the reflexology work?
As far as the reflexology work, I always worked alone. A couple of times I did have business partner in working around the space and other practitioners subletting space, that kind of thing. But the reflexology was always just me.
I see. Right on. Wow. And so then I wanted to sort of move into, well, maybe I could stop for a minute. Among the group, does anybody have any questions about reflexology as a field, or anything, any curiosities about that we haven't covered?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to know how many reflexologists there are in the area, like on southern Vancouver Island. I mean, you're the only one I know. So how many are there?
I'm the only registered reflexologist in Sooke, but there's probably, I don't actually have a set number. There could be as high as 30 just in the lower island, south of Duncan, kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, we are on the left coast after all.
Yeah.
I was
in BC. In BC alone, there's over 2,000.
Really? Wow. Yeah. I was in Yellowknife when I experienced reflexology, so it had traveled up there too.
Yeah.
Right on. Anybody else? If not, I wanted to kind of move into being in business, because you talked about the fact that your training initially in those days didn't include any business training at all. So I guess the first question: what did you learn about being in business? Because you are a solopreneur, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know one of your questions later on is about, what would I have done differently? And I think that's where I need to start with this, because what I realized in retrospect that it would have been very advantageous to have taken business courses at the get-go.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't. I think I started with a bit of naivety and ideology of, here I am, I have my training, put a shingle up and they'll come. And they did to a degree, but definitely could have been much more viable business earlier on in the process if I'd done some of that, for sure.
Well, I should share with you when I was still working for government, and I knew I wanted to go into business for myself. So I started selling Mary Kay,
Right.
so that I could take part in business development courses that were being offered in Yellowknife.
Okay.
Federal Business Development Bank, and it was a whole, and the Chamber of Commerce, a whole series of small business courses. But you had to be in business in order to
Take
do
them.
it. So I sold Mary Kay in order to get
There you go.
yeah.
With homeschooling my kids, I had a lot on my plate already as far as taking on another sort of business along the same lines, or something that would give me that. But definitely had to just keep learning on my feet. And I was for a while in a women in business network in Sooke, fairly early on in the days too. Experimented with different types of promotion. With this field, one-on-one is still, even to this day, the best method of promotion that I have found. And I have not got engaged in social media marketing as well.
Okay.
But of course, with COVID now, those venues are not there.
Yeah.
So it's been more challenging to keep the ball rolling in a sense, because I have obviously my regular clientele, but for various reasons, you always need a bit of a roll in of new clientele as well, even if you're busy. So you've got to keep that promotion happening. And so one-on-one activities like Canada Day, the weekend markets actually are a very good venue for someone who wants to start getting their face known in a new community in particular, or get their business known that way. The hands-on parts obviously lend itself well, and country markets love it when they've got, either somebody doing massage or reflexology or aromatherapy or any of that kind of stuff at the market. It really does enhance the options for people. So I found those the best. And I did have one form of advertising that I used for a few years, and it was in our local newspaper, and it was a flyer. So it would be an 8.5 by 11 one-sided printed flyer.
And did that bring any business to you?
That's the only one that was a printed version. Like ads in the newspaper for my business, I never found I got any new business from it, anything that was tangible. But with that flyer, I did. And it more than paid for itself. I had, several long-term clients that would evolve from that process of coming in for whatever introductory special I offered. My environmental side, however, wouldn't let me continue to do it after a few years of doing it, because it was 5,000 pieces of paper for one advertising in 1 week. 10 reams of paper. And I just couldn't keep doing it. Fred knows me in paper. Despite being my most lucrative form of advertising, other than my time in a chair somewhere, I just couldn't do it for the environment. I quit.
Yeah, I can certainly I can relate to that for sure.
It always surprised me that it worked too, because I never look at the flyers. I just toss them as soon as the paper comes out. So to find that so many people really do look at the flyers was a real learning curve for me. Yeah.
So, and are you said you haven't gotten involved in social media, but there are some sites on that list almost do an online listing of flyers. I don't know how popular those are, whether they would work or not, but I have stumbled on them. Yeah.
Right.
So
Well, I've gotten a bit lazy in my life. I will acknowledge that. I am heading towards semi-retirement. I've cut my hours back since COVID, and I'm kind of content to have some days off. So I still have enough new people trickling in, despite having lost some due to COVID that don't want to wear the masks or don't want to get vaccinated, don't want to come when there's restrictions, whatever. So
right.
I'm comfortable with what's happening. I do have a Facebook page, I do have a web page, but I don't apply myself to it.
You do have a web page. I was going to ask.
Not a website, just a web page. I see
Yes.
David has his hand up again.
Yeah, I see that too. David?
Yeah, I got a couple things. Javita's asking, do you need any precautions if you are practicing at home?
You would need the same precautions as you would have in the office, basically. So wearing a mask, a good protocol of how you clean any surfaces that have been touched, and the best ventilation that you can afford in your space. So HEPA filters, things like that. I meet everybody at the door. I open the door, I close the door. Basically, we have a nice running joke. You don't touch my stuff, I don't touch your stuff, right? You wear your mask and, clean your hands. And my office does have a sink beside the door. So they wash their hands as they come in, they wash their hands as they leave, even though they haven't touched anything.
Right.
The other thing that's going on is Javita's saying the screen is frozen, and I confirmed that on my end. It's frozen here too.
My screen?
No, the YouTube feed.
Oh,
And but she's getting the sound.
interesting. I wonder why.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't see anything on my screens that would tell me that. It says the feed is excellent, and out of OBS, it's looking the way it should. It's not frozen. Isn't that
It
odd?
could be her connection.
Maybe.
No, I've got
You're seeing the
YouTube
same
up
thing.
too, and I'm frozen also. And I just refreshed the screen, and it's not. I have the sound down so that it doesn't interfere.
Yeah.
But well,
Isn't that interesting?
you can do another
Because it's in on my YouTube. It's showing and that it's an excellent feed. Weird. Wow.
Anyway, I was looking for your website so that I could post that.
It's at www.sooke.org/Marlene.
Sooke, SOOKE.org/Marlene. Okay. Right on. Uh-oh. I just blew it. Sorry, just give me a minute. I just got rid of something by mistake. Oh dear.
And even having that low profile on the internet, I still have people more recently that do find me through a search on Google.
They do. Wow.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I was going to ask what percentage of your business would come from referrals from happy customers, or happy, maybe customer is not the right word to use.
Clients. I do try and track that. Like I always ask people where they did find me.
Yeah.
And probably 30% or more are from referrals from other people. Yeah.
Right. That would typical of a lot of other sort of sole practitioners doing various things. Yeah,
Right.
right on. So you said there were some things that you wish you had done. Um, any major breakthrough or a special learning you got from being in business?
One of the things I learned early on, I was sharing space with a massage therapist, and she wasn't using her space in the evenings and weekends. That gave me that opportunity. And one of the things I learned from a client of hers who I happen to know was that the client and the practitioner knew each other through their children, through kindergarten, that kind of thing too. And so when she went to that massage therapist, the massage therapist would talk the whole time, nonstop, because it was chit chat catching up. And what I learned from her client was you don't necessarily want to do that. So I make a point of people who I personally know, and especially if they're fairly close friends, that I say, just because we know each other does not mean we have to catch up and chit chat. And actually, prior to COVID, I actually had budgeted in my scheduling time for a bit of catch up or to listen, because a lot of people need someone that can just sort of hear out what's going on with their life right now. So that was a quick learning that I'm really glad I learned early in the process, is not to just keep the conversation going. Like a lot of times people will start talking, and it's easy to engage and then keep the conversation going. So I make every effort to acknowledge what they've said without being the one that keeps engaging in that conversation. Some people want to talk. That's what they say. But I want to talk. Can I talk? Yep. It's up to you to decide. You can if that's what you want to do. But I make it clear at the beginning.
Yeah, and I could see that, because if the person is there to become relaxed, that the constant chit chat would probably not facilitate that very well. Yeah.
Not necessarily. And like I say, for the individual, sometimes it's just getting it all out. They never, they've got all these thoughts running through their head and they haven't heard them out loud. And that's the helpful part for them.
Yeah.
While the reflexology is helping to balance energy and relax them at the same time. So I really, really make sure it's the individual that makes that choice of, and I tell them right off, you can ask me questions, you can watch what I'm doing, or you can just close your eyes and take it all in. That's every new client in particular gets that line.
Wow. Really interesting. Wow. Well, that's the end of my series of questions. I don't know if there are other questions out of the group based on your business experience. Here's your opportunity if you have a question. Yeah, Alana.
So is reflexology, I'm sorry, I came in a few minutes late, but is reflexology only about the feet?
No, hands, feet, and ears, but there are other
feet and ears. Okay.
Yeah, there are.
So it's like pressure points. Is that it?
Yeah. Specific pressure points that correspond to every part, organ, and gland in the body. And then through application of pressure on those points, it helps balance body energy, improve circulation, and induce deep relaxation. So we're in effect going to do the whole person with extra emphasis where it's needed for the individual. So I do a fairly extensive health history with them before I start. And then we review that. I do a chart and I use a different color each time a person comes so that we see changes over time. It's a graph to record those changes. It's not a diagnostic tool. People ask me, if I ever find something that I tell people they have. And through my training, that is not how we do it. That does not to say that between the combination of their health history, what I see, what I hear, I wouldn't say, next time you're at your doctor, you might want to ask about this. It's not urgent, don't worry about it. Just, it's just something that I'm curious about. And And we've already had some discussions, so they're not going out sort of fearful that I have this or I had that. But it's always a combination. It's not just what I'm feeling with the reflexology.
And my recollection was that there, the reflexologist sometimes can find a spot that really jumps out at you.
Yes, yeah. And I'm basically listening with my fingers when I'm working on people. So I'm going to feel differences in the texture, the temperature, maybe swelling. There's different things. Plus, I'm actually monitoring the pulse on the top of the foot. I feel a difference in the pulse often when I get to an area that is most often tender for the client, but not 100% necessarily. And that's definitely part of what I record, and we look at that. And again, we watch for the changes over time. And it's a combination. If they've come in with heavily swollen ankles, but they haven't been to the doctor in 6 years, you know, that's one of the ones I'm going to say, you know, when was the last time you were at your doctor? And have you had a physical lately? But I'm not diagnosing anything.
No. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead, Alana.
So what are some of the examples of things that you would treat?
Again, we're not treating per se, not in the sense that a doctor would treat a condition. And
I'm just thinking of the baby reference you made about the feet.
Yeah, that was for colicky baby.
For a colicky baby, yeah.
So I was actually working the digestive reflexes for the colicky baby. And I would also, in that case, be working solar plexus, which is our main center for our emotions and sort of nerves and calming. Let me try and just sort of run through, you know, I have a fellow with PTSD. So I'm going to be working specifically, again, the solar plexus, the diaphragm, the brain reflexes, the adrenal reflexes, anything that's working towards helping to calm a person and balance that person for something like that. So again, the whole person, every reflex point with extra attention. Sometimes it's a little more pressure. Sometimes it's actually less pressure, but more repeats. Sometimes it's working on it and then leaving it and then coming back to it, especially if I find an area that's particularly tender. So how I describe it to people when they first come is most people find the responses as sort of a bruised feeling, but occasionally it can be sharp for people. So if I find an area that is sharper, I'll hold a steady pressure on it for a few seconds and ask, is this easing off? If it's not, then I let it go and I come back to it. If it is, then I hold it for a little bit longer so that it continues to release whatever is being held in there. And even the time that I experienced the reflexology first, the points that I now know what they are not directly related to the kidneys. They're actually lymphatic drainage points that were very, very sore when he was working on me. So it isn't always exactly the point you think it is. It's somewhere along the pathway related to that point. So if it's related to the kidneys, then I'm going to work the kidneys, but I'm also going to work everything related to the kidneys in that pathway as well. Sometimes it's stimulating, sometimes it's calming. So it's the individual.
Very interesting.
Thanks.
Well, it is interesting, isn't it, Alana? Because, you know, we're all taught that, you know, you've got all these different organs in your body and blah, blah. You think of everything as being sort of separate from everything else. And it takes, from my experience, a bit of open-mindedness to recognize and to sort of acknowledge or accept the idea that those meridians in our body are all connected and that they all have an impact on each other. I mean, that takes a very open-minded mindset, I think. Yeah.
It's a shift. Same as the forest. We now understand the forest is all tied together too.
Yes. Okay. David, you have a question?
Javita is asking how long the session would be for reflexology.
Okay, I personally offer 3 session lengths. So I have a half hour of reflexology, which I can do either your hands or your feet in that time frame. The hands generally only take a half hour. I do an hour where I can either do the full hour on your feet or half on your hands and half on your feet. And then I do an hour and a half, which is an hour on your feet and half an hour on your hands.
Interesting. Wow. Now, I think I also saw Fred waving. Did you wave? Did you have a question, Fred? I think he's frozen.
Yes, I do, but I have internet problems, so let me close my...
Yeah.
And now the question is gone. Because my internet is... what's the problem? Here's the question. A lot of what you're saying tells me it's not just physical, it's also mental. Because you talk about PTSD. And
it's spiritual, and whatever that means for the individual. It is physical, it is energy, it is all of those. That's why we say the whole person, not just the whole body.
Vibrational, yes. I mean, we that's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah.
Well, and there's a lot of anxiety that goes with PTSD, and so dealing with that vibrational energy of anxiety within the body and triggering, helping to just calm that down even momentarily is helpful for people, for sure. It's not a cure-all.
No.
I mean, like I said, we've had times where it's just almost a miraculous response, and you wish you could do that every single time, but you can't, because it's individual where that person is, what got them there, how long it took to get there, and what they're doing elsewhere while they're outside of the office as well. So it isn't just a formula that's going to work for everybody, and it's going to work different degrees for individuals. So we do have a broad conversation around not just their physical health, but what's happening in their life and where they're going and what they're thinking about things, or what they're wanting to achieve.
And that tells me as a coach that you need to be a really good listener.
I've definitely developed my listening skills. That was one thing I don't think I had as well-defined skills when I started, but over the years of doing this, definitely developed my listening skills.
For sure. Oh, okay. So, are there other questions? I'm looking at the time. We are, we try to stay under the hour. And I'm concerned that things are not showing up on YouTube. So,
well, what about the lifestyle? Does it have any impact on how they receive the therapy that you're providing? Or
well, I think I know what you're asking me there. So definitely I'm going to be encouraging people to ask themselves questions and often have connections or ideas for them. But I am not a trained counselor, and it's just putting options out there for people to consider whether they follow up on them or not. And most of my clients are very happy with not just the reflexology sessions, but the listening time and any suggestions I have for them that they maybe haven't thought of before, or the contacts with other people. And I do try and connect with as many of the other therapists in my community as I can, so that I have a firsthand knowledge of them and can say, well, I really liked this person's technique here, or here's a new person in town. Like we have, I don't know how many massage therapists in town, but you can't get in with them in a short order. They're all so booked, even more so through COVID. It's insane how busy they all are. And a new person comes in and they're booked up, and then you got a 2-month wait again. So that's good for them, but I do always like to connect with new people in the community, new practitioners, and then have that recommendation or referral or suggestion for people that they appreciate having as another option.
Right on.
I was going to show you one of the things that for reflexology that is a quick little thing you can do for yourself at home or share with somebody is in your hand. See this crease and where it ends on your hand?
Mm-hmm.
So if you take your other thumb and you put it where the crease ended and do a circular motion, you'll often find, especially if you have a headache or if you're under a period of stress, that you'll find an area that's tender and you want to push into that tenderness. It's going to be like a bruised feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll push into the tenderness and you can hold it for a few seconds again to feel that release, and then do it some more and then switch hands. And you may only find the tenderness on one hand, but do both hands always. It's about balance again. Yes. And so you also don't want to strain your thumb and get too tired with that thumb. So work back and forth. It's something you can take into a meeting. You can have your hands under the desk while you're listening or talking, and you can be working on that point to help just sort of bring any nervousness down, or again, take the pressure off that headache that's shown up for you as well. So it's a little hands-on thing, literally, pun intended, that I like to share with as many people as I can, because it's a self-help thing you can take with you anywhere.
All right. Well, that is just a wonderful way for us to end our interview. And I want to thank you, Marlene, for sharing everything that you have shared. I found it really interesting, even though I did know a little bit about reflexology beforehand. I usually ask Fred to give the last word before we end. So, Fred, would you like to give a last word?
Certainly, since
He has troubles with that at Toastmasters as well. I'll be seeing him tonight. I'll do a little plug. Sooke Harbor Toastmasters every Tuesday night at 7:00 on Zoom.
Around the world on a sail.
Oh, dear. No, that's not going to work. So thank you very much, Marlene. I really appreciate your coming and participating. If at any time you feel the inclination, you would be most welcome to join us here anytime.
Okay. Thank you, Fred. Fred's, I think, is still trying to give me a little more background there. Unfortunately, it's not coming through.
No.
But thank you, Fred, for recommending me, and I enjoyed myself here as well. Sorry, Fred, you're cut out again, and we didn't actually catch what you were trying to say.
Yeah.
What I was trying to say is you're an exceptionally interesting person, sailboat around the world with family, community-oriented, very community-oriented, and, fascinating. And even more.
Oh, we've lost him again.
Yeah.
So, having said that, I will bring us to a close with a reminder that it's important to do what you love with passion.
And I do.
That's good. And to just let you know that next week we're going to have a group discussion on the entrepreneurial mindset. So having said that, I will do the outro now.